The scent of jollof rice, grilled chicken, and pepper soup filled the house, but I wasn't allowed to taste any of it. Not in that room, not with them. I sat on a wooden stool in the corridor, knees tucked under my chin, a plate of cold rice on my lap. The family laughter echoed through the open door. It was loud, carefree, like nothing was wrong, like I didn't exist. Don't just stand there staring. My stepfather, Chief Obinna, had barked minutes earlier. Go and sit where you belong, where I belonged. Not at the long dining table where his children sat. Not beside my mother, who barely met my eyes anymore. Just outside. Always outside. I was 16, but I felt smaller every day in that house. Since my real father disappeared from my life when I was just a baby, my world had been filled with this man who made it his mission to remind me I didn't belong. Not truly. His 3 children, Nena, Ijike, and little Dara, got everything. New clothes, private tutors, even hugs. I got silence. Or scorn. Or orders. Mama, can't I just... I had whispered once, hoping to sit at the table for her birthday dinner. She didn't even let me finish. Don't embarrass us, Adaora, she snapped quietly, adjusting her gelly without looking at me. That was her now. Beautiful, distant, loyal to her new husband's rules. And that rule was simple. Adaora was less. But I wasn't blind. I watched. I remembered. And I knew the truth they all ignored. My real father wasn't dead. He was out there. He had written to me on my 10th birthday just once, before my mother burned the letter. I had only read part of it before the flames took it. Never let anyone make you feel small, Ada. You come from strength. I will find you again. That line never left me. And this pain, these years of sitting outside while others lived my life, it was starting to shape into something else. Not just sadness, but resolve. The kind that burns slow, then explodes. Tonight, as I sat on that hard stool and listened to them clink glasses and say grace without me, something shifted. I wasn't going to beg for space at that table anymore. If they wouldn't give me a seat, I'd bring someone who would flip the whole table over. And I already knew exactly who that someone was. I reached under my bed that night and pulled out the old envelope I'd hidden for 6 years. The one with the return address that read, Office of the Executive Governor. My fingers trembled as I whispered, It's time. The envelope was wrinkled, faded, and smelled faintly of smoke. But the handwriting was still clear, bold, careful, almost presidential. Office of the Executive Governor, Enugu State. I had read the letter so many times over the years I knew every word by heart, even the ones that were lost to the fire. My mother thought she'd destroyed it, along with every hope I had of knowing where I came from. But she didn't know I'd already made a copy, and kept the address. For 6 years I said nothing. I played the role, the unwanted child, the outsider. But that night, something inside me cracked wide open. I unfolded the copy of the letter, my heartbeat pounding louder with every word. My dearest Adaora, I wish I could hold you. I think about you every day. You don't know the truth about why I'm not there. But someday you will. You are not forgotten. You are my daughter. You carry the same blood that runs through leaders. You come from legacy, from power, from me. I blinked fast, refusing to let tears blur the moment. My mother had always claimed he left us. He ran off to chase power and forgot about you, she'd say, shaking her head like it was some dirty shame. But this letter said otherwise. And now, with Chief Obinna's voice still echoing in my head, Go and sit where you belong. I knew I couldn't wait anymore. I opened my school bag and pulled out my old Nokia phone. The battery was barely hanging on, but it still worked for one thing. Text messages. I typed slowly. My name is Adaora. I think I'm your daughter. Please, if you get this, I need to see you. Then I hesitated. My fingers hovered over the send button. What if it didn't work? What if the number had changed? But what if it didn't? I hit send. And just like that, it was done. The message flew into the unknown. Toward a man I hadn't seen since I was 2. Toward a name my mother forbade me from speaking. Toward the only person who might actually care. I stared at the screen for minutes. Nothing. I set the phone down and curled up under my blanket, heart racing. I didn't sleep. At exactly 4:42 a.m., the phone buzzed. "Where are you?" 2 words. 2 words that made my breath catch. My chest tightened. My entire world tilted. I sat up, staring at the screen like it might disappear. My fingers were shaking as I typed. "Still in Enugu, living with my mother and stepfather. I need to talk to you. In person." Another long pause. Then came the reply. "Tell me where. I'll come." At 7 a.m., a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up quietly across the street from our compound. I peeked through the curtain, and the man who stepped out wasn't just my father. He was the governor of Enugu State, and he had come for me. The SUV door opened slowly, and for a moment, I froze. All I could see was his silhouette. A tall man in a navy blue kaftan, stepping out with quiet authority. Then he looked up, and everything inside me shifted. Same eyes, same sharp jawline I'd seen in the mirror all my life. It was like time folded, like I was looking at both a stranger and someone I'd always known. My father, Governor Ifeanyi Abachukwu. My knees buckled slightly, but I held on to the curtain. Couldn't let Mama see. She was in the kitchen, yelling at the house help about missing seasoning cubes. Chief Obinna hadn't even come home the night before. I slipped out the back door barefoot, heart racing. My breath caught as I reached the gate. The man didn't say a word at first. He just looked at me, really looked, as if he were searching for the pieces of himself that had been missing for 16 years. Then he whispered, "Edora." I nodded, eyes burning. He stepped forward and opened his arms like he'd been waiting a lifetime. And without even thinking, I ran into them. "I'm so sorry," he murmured into my hair. "I should have come sooner. I tried. But they kept you from me." I wanted to ask him everything. Why he left. Why he never fought harder. Why he waited this long. But in that moment I didn't care. He came. And for once someone had come for me. We sat inside the SUV, the air conditioner humming gently, separating us from the world outside. "I've followed your life from a distance," he said, handing me a small envelope. "That school scholarship you won in JSS 2? I helped fund it through a foundation. Quietly. I couldn't risk your mother finding out. She made it clear I was not welcome." I stared at him, stunned. "Why didn't you fight her?" He sighed. "She threatened to destroy my career. I was just starting my political journey. I didn't think anyone would believe me back then. But not a day passed that I didn't think of you." I opened the envelope. Inside was an invitation, an exclusive state banquet, celebrating women in leadership. And there, printed in gold ink under the list of special guests, Miss Edora Abachukwu, Youth Honorary Recipient. I blinked in disbelief. This is for me?" He smiled gently. "You're not hiding anymore. You don't sit outside while others feast. You're my daughter, and the world is going to know it." That's when I knew. This wasn't just a reunion. It was a declaration. And while I sat in that SUV, clutching the invitation, the front door of our house creaked open. Chief Obinna stood there, blinking at the sight of the governor's car, and me sitting proudly inside it. His smirk faded. For the first time ever, he looked scared. Chief Obinna didn't move. He just stood there at the front door in his oversized agbada, his mouth slightly open, eyes locked on the governor's SUV parked in front of his compound. I stepped out slowly. The same girl he used to ignore when passing the corridor. The same girl he told to fetch water, clear plates, and stay outside when guests are around. But this time I wasn't alone. Governor Abachukwu stepped out behind me, straightening his sleeves like he had all the time in the world. His security details stayed close, but not in a showy way. They were quiet, watchful, professional, like him. Chief Obinna's voice cracked. "What's going on here?" I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The governor walked up to him, every step deliberate, calm, but heavy with meaning. "You must be Chief Obinna," he said, extending a firm hand. Obinna took it reluctantly. "Yes, I wasn't expecting. My daughter lives here." The governor cut in. "I decided to visit." "Daughter." He said it clearly, loud enough for everyone within earshot to hear. The security man by the gate turned his head. Mama, now peeking from behind the curtains, froze mid-breath. I didn't know Adaora had. She never mentioned. Obina fumbled. She wouldn't have to mention me if she was treated like someone who mattered, the governor said, voice steady. But I can see that hasn't been the case. Silence. The kind that pulls shame up from the floorboards. I'll be taking her for a few days, he added, placing a hand lightly on my shoulder. She's got an important event to attend. A new chapter to begin. Obina didn't respond. He just stepped aside as we walked past him. I turned once, just briefly, and caught his eyes. This time I didn't lower mine. By evening, I was no longer wearing my faded house gown and old sandals. I stood in front of a mirror, dressed in an elegant, tailored Ankara gown with gold embroidery, gifted by a state designer. My hair had been professionally styled. A touch of lip gloss shimmered beneath soft lights. I barely recognized myself. Yet, I did, because this wasn't a disguise. This was me uncovered. Are you ready? The governor asked from the doorway, smiling like a proud father at graduation. I nodded. More than ready. We walked into the banquet hall together. Cameras flashed. Reporters whispered. And the MC's voice boomed through the loudspeakers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our final guest of honor tonight, Miss Adaora Abichukwu, daughter of His Excellency, and this year's Youth Inspiration Award recipient. The applause shook the room. I took a deep breath and walked in, but across the hall near the back entrance stood Mama. And beside her, hiding behind a pillar in borrowed lace, was Chief Obina. They weren't on the guest list, but they were here watching, and I hadn't even begun speaking yet. I stood at the center of the banquet hall, the spotlight soft on my face, a glass podium in front of me. People were still clapping. Powerful people. Women in gheli and heels. Diplomats. News anchors. Entrepreneurs. All seated and facing forward, waiting to hear what I had to say. My fingers gripped the edge of the podium. Not out of fear, but focus. This wasn't a fairy tale. This was a reckoning. Good evening, I began, my voice clear. My name is Adaora Abichukwu. I saw the ripple move through the crowd. They recognized the last name. Whispers followed. Cameras lifted. And I wasn't always the girl you see here tonight. I paused, scanning the room. And then I saw them. Mama, in a stiff wrapper and cheap makeup, seated uncomfortably near the exit. Chief Obina, standing awkwardly behind her, arms folded like he had something to say, but no microphone to say it with. My life hasn't been red carpets and banquets, I continued. For 16 years, I was told to stay silent, to stay small. I sat outside while others ate, not because I wasn't hungry, but because someone decided I didn't deserve a seat. The room quieted. But I learned something from those moments, I said, eyes still locked forward. Silence is not weakness, and being pushed aside doesn't mean you're unworthy. I held up the award plaque in my hand, the engraved words gleaming under the lights. This is not a prize for being popular, I said. It's proof that no one has the power to define your worth, unless you hand it to them. The applause began again, louder this time. I turned slightly, scanning the hall with purpose now. I want to thank the man who believed in me before I believed in myself. My father, Governor Ifani Abichukwu. He found me, he saw me, and he reminded me where I come from. I looked toward him, his smile warm, eyes glassy. And to those who once told me I didn't belong, I said slowly, deliberately, thank you. The crowd stilled. Because if not for your rejection, I wouldn't have discovered my strength. If not for the closed doors, I wouldn't have learned to build my own. The crowd rose in a standing ovation. Mama didn't clap. Chief Obina didn't blink. And I didn't need them to. I stepped back from the podium, heart thudding. Not with nerves, but with clarity. I had spoken. Not in a whisper. Not in a corridor. But from a stage under the lights. For the whole world to hear. As I walked off the stage, surrounded by applause, A staff member handed me a sealed white envelope. "There's someone waiting for you in the governor's lounge," he whispered. I opened the note. It was in Mama's handwriting. One line. "Please, just 5 minutes. I need to tell you the truth." The governor's lounge was quiet, tastefully furnished, cold. Mama sat alone on one of the cream leather chairs, her wrapper bunched at the knees, hands clenched around her handbag like it might run away. She looked smaller than I remembered. Not in size, but in presence. There was no scolding tone, no sharp glare, just silence. I closed the door softly behind me. "You have 5 minutes." She stood, but didn't come closer. Her voice was lower than I'd ever heard it. "You look beautiful, Adaora." I said nothing. She sighed, long and shaky. "I know you hate me." "I don't," I replied. "I just finally see you for who you are." That hit her. I saw it. Then she looked down, fidgeting with her wedding ring. "I didn't always hate your father. You should know that." I folded my arms. "So why did you keep him from me?" Her voice cracked. "Because he left me behind and rose without me." She looked up, tears brimming. "Your father loved politics more than he loved me. When he started rising in the civil service, I begged him to stay grounded. But the more power he got, the less room there was for me. I felt abandoned." My jaw tightened. "And when I realized you looked just like him," she continued, "it was easier to shut him out, and you too." I blinked. "So I paid for the pain he caused you?" "I was wrong," she whispered. "I see that now. Every time I told you to eat outside, every time I let Obina treat you like you were less, I was punishing the wrong person." She stepped closer. "But what you've done, how you've risen, I've never been more ashamed and more proud." I stared at her for a long time. Then I said quietly, "I don't need you to be proud. I needed you to protect me, and you didn't." She flinched. "I forgive you," I added, "but I won't shrink myself to make you feel better. That Adaora is gone." She nodded slowly, wiping her cheek. I turned to leave, but just before I opened the door, she said, "You know, Chief Obina used to laugh and say you'd never amount to anything." I paused. She added, "Tonight, he sat in the car after your speech and cried." I didn't turn around. I didn't need to. Some stories are better told in silence. That night, I stood on the governor's balcony, the city glowing beneath me. My father walked up and handed me a chilled bottle of malt. "To the girl who was made to sit outside." I smiled and raised it like a toast. "And now owns the entire table." We clinked bottles. I used to think being quiet made me invisible. But now I know. I wasn't silent. I was loading. And when I arrived, I came louder than thunder. If you enjoyed this story, please like and subscribe, and don't forget to turn on the notification bell. Thank you. We hope to see you in our next video.